All right, I tried my damnedest to find actual hot takes in the AEW Wrestledream hot takes thread. I did my best, but some of these are probably cold takes because a lot of y'all just tell me what you think as opposed to having a hot take. But I put a hot take in the title. So let's go ahead and take a look. I mean, this is pretty hot right here because Miss Mick I always want to call this Mr. Economic. Fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to call this person what I want to call them. Mr. Economics says, I'm slightly disappointed the I Quit match didn't end in an actual murder. What the? Mr. Economics, what is wrong with you? Actual murder? We don't need murder in pro wrestling. We need like simulated attempted murder. That's probably as far as I'm willing to take that, unless it's like some Impact Wrestling situation where they've had like people shot, or that time Eddie Kingston ran over a child in his car. But even that was attempted, you know. I don't even think he was arrested for that. Was he? Anyways, yeah, you're disappointed in murder. That's, you know, man, you gotta dial that back a little bit. What's next? What is this? Hell, Joe 2K20 says this was the moment Jon Moxley jumped the shark for me. He actually does continue with a little elaboration. He says, this I Quit match was shit. And him losing to a sharpshooter submission is what made him saying I quit is lame. All right, number one, Joe 2K. He lost. He said I quit to a Scorpion Deathlock. A lot of people think it's the same exact move, but this is the Sting variant. And Darby's applying it. Plus, Mox was like, his face was in water with a bunch of glass in it. I don't think the match was lame. I thought the match was fine, but I understand your point. Probably Darby needed to get a bit more, offense in on Mox. But there's some other takes, perhaps defending the finish of the match. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of these here. Next up, we've got Jacques Turner, who says more wrestlers should use waterboarding as a submission move. So I actually saw this hot take before I watched the pay-per-view, because I posted up the thread before I even really started watching the pay-per-view because I wanted you guys to get a jump on it. And then I watched it, and I was actually waiting for the actual waterboarding moment, and it didn't come because what he did wasn't waterboarding. It was just drowning. And those are two different things. I've seen enough movies to know what waterboarding is. It's, I think, ostensibly you put like a towel or a cloth over somebody's face, and then you pour the water over them. And it's horrific. It's awful, awful business. So I don't know if we've seen that yet. That sounds kind of familiar, like something Mox might have done in the past, but I don't think that's what this was. But I don't know. Maybe you're just saying that to say it. What do I know? Enzo says if Darby was bleeding, that aquarium spot would have been 100,000 times better. Imagine that water just turning red. So I think there was some state athletic commission stuff that like kept this from being a bloodier affair. I kind of really appreciated that there was like kind of a lack of blood. I know Darby had I think he bled from the mouth, but I think that was like kind of legit. Yeah, I'm okay. I agree with you 1,000%. I think if there's one time when they really actually should have used blood, it'd be the time when you get the coolest effect from it and not just use it to use it. But I think in this case, like they're under some really tight restrictions from, in fact, somebody says a little bit later on in the thread here. So I'll give credit to that person once we get there, because that's how I found out about it. But yeah, I think they're under some constraints. Enzo also says, Mox tapping out at All In and quitting against Darby now should be the catalyst for the end of the Death Riders. Here's my problem with this. If in the build to this, if in the lead up to this, they had actually, and this is one weakness of the Death Riders that I really wish they would start exploring, because it's kind of never too late. But the actual dynamics between the people in the Death Riders really has never been all that examined. Mox and his goons, like they never really, I don't know, are on screen talking to each other about anything. Like, yeah, they'll berate Yuta, and like you'll see him recruiting, for example, Daniel Garcia, obviously. But like they just follow him. And now that he crumbles, like without even that much pressure, although the Scorpion Deathlock is a devastating move, but like it really didn't take that much to get him to say, I quit. And on top of that, the production fucked up and didn't have that moment mic'd where we actually got to hear him say, I quit, which really sucked. And that kind of took me out of it. But like, yeah, I think that there should have been something more on the line in terms of his faction and how they feel about him as we're going into this match. Like, hey, Mox, I mentioned this on the review over at Going in Raw. If you quit in this match, you're quitting on us. So you better not do that. Maybe that's a story they will begin to tell now, but I don't want this Death Riders thing to end right now, largely because I love their theme song. And you guys know me. I love a good theme song, and that I absolutely put theme song over story, obviously. Anyways, what's up next? We've got one from Prime Joy of Bearding, who says, I've seen people complain about the abrupt ending. Fans don't get that's the point. Mox acts like a tough guy, but when faced with adversity, he runs and quits easily. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets kicked out. So he's kind of in the same vein as the last guy that we did the hot take from. Yeah, I like that about Mox. I like that it's a consistency in Mox's character with the Death Riders. And I hope that's something that they explore kind of with, you know, the rest of his group. But that's why I was kind of okay with it too, because it tracks. I've never been a huge Mox guy, even when he was Dean Ambrose. But this iteration of Mox, all the shit talking that he does, his kind of over the top now villainy, I actually really kind of appreciate. I was very entertained by that match. I thought the thumbnail stuff was a bit much, but I've had stuff accidentally, go under the thumbnail. It is horrifyingly. I even have a cut right there at the top of my finger right now. I don't even know how I got it. Anyways, let's see. Next up, we've got Kyle Canyon. Who better than Canyon? Says if they want us to take Eddie and Hook seriously, they need to be on pay-per-view. I don't really think they wanted to take them seriously. I was actually really shocked that Eddie Kingston's big return in AEW was only like hinted at or like, done via promo with Big Bill at that last pay-per-view and on Collision. And then Eddie just showed up. I thought that he would be kind of a bigger deal, to be honest with you. But it sort of goes to show, I don't know, kind of to a degree what's the Tony Khan thinks of Eddie Kingston. Has him with Hook in a tailgate 3-minute match against the frat dudes. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna take him seriously anytime soon. I don't know why that is. I really don't, because the crowd loves Eddie. But yeah, he's kind of doing really insubstantial stuff right now. Unsubstantial. After being gone for a very long time. So I don't know what the deal with that is. I really don't. Diabetic Man says the only thing missing from Mox Darby was being able to hear Mox saying, I quit. I mentioned that a moment ago. I'm sorry for stealing your thunder there, Mr. Diabetic Man. Mr. BRS says, despite a lot of talent being injured, the pay-per-view is really good and a testament to the star power of the roster. AEW has an incredibly deep roster of really good wrestlers. My main takeaway from the pay-per-view is kind of similar. I thought that every match on the card really deserved to be on the pay-per-view. Sometimes every once in a while, they'll put something on the pay-per-view that it's like, did this really need to be here? It seems like you're filling time. In this case, every match really should have been on the pay-per-view, and every match was given a ton of time, maybe too much time, to breathe. But I appreciate that Tony Khan understands people are plunking down $50 or $40 if you're watching it on Max, and let me go ahead and give these guys basically a series of matches which could all be kind of blow-offy, or at the very least, like these are all big pay-per-view matches. And I appreciate that he gives us that, because he knows that $50 these days is a lot of money. Maybe not to him. Parsat says no wrestler looks like they're having fun in the ring as much as Kazuchika Okada, and it makes him so likable. I guffawed. I laughed out loud when Okada gave the accidental Rainmaker to Takeshita. It is my favorite story going on right now in AEW. Why? Because they're exploring the dynamics within a faction, characters who have different motivations, different ambitions, and how that conflict plays out. That accidental Rainmaker, followed by Okada laughing and giving him a sly middle finger, I thought was hilarious. Kazuchika Okada is one of my favorite characters right now in professional wrestling, and what he has going with Takeshita, I think, is damn good. Zondo says, I didn't like Sting showing up. before I read the rest of this, I appreciate that. That's a hot take right there because everybody likes Sting. He says it's going to be like, oh, so why didn't Sting come help Darby this time from here on out if Darby is in over his head? Yeah, I understand that point of view, but I wonder how many times he's going to be in over his head when it comes to a situation like this where he's basically fighting off an entire faction. You got to figure at some point he's going to have some one-on-one feuds that are actually one-on-one feuds. But yeah, I thought I liked it. I thought it was cool because like the odds are so overwhelmingly stacked against Darby. I liked it. Sting showing up, choking out Mox a little bit, giving the bat over to Darby and being like, okay. And that was enough. I don't think he did too much. And he looked like a badass with like the golden or the silver hair. I thought he looked really, really cool. Get Up on the Mic says, I was very much not a Jack Perry guy. I didn't think he was bad, but I never saw the hype. I am now a Jack Perry guy. I am still not that song that they have guy. I can't stand that song. But I did appreciate, I do kind of appreciate Jack Perry and Luchasaurus being together. Again, the crowd really loves them. They love Jack Perry as a good guy. And I like that he kind of changed his attire. He's not doing the stupid Jungle Boy tights or trunks anymore. He kind of has more of a Kraven the Hunter vibe to him. And I appreciate that about him. I thought that match was really fun too. It was a little long, but it was fun. Here's one about Sting. Trapman says Sting should have gone gray sooner. Could have given his final run an Old Man Logan feel. Yeah. If he'd have taken a lengthy break and then came back as Old Man Sting, I'm down with that. I think that's cool. What else do we have here? Queen says, I think a lot of people that are complaining about the main event need to consider the restrictions AEW had to dance around from the Missouri State Athletics Commission. Those restrictions are damn near draconian. They did what they could and still delivered a great story. Thank you, Queen. I appreciate that insight right there. I found out about that, I think, right before I read this hot take, and then I read this one, and I did not know that's how Missouri is, but that's not surprising. There's a couple athletic commissions out there. It's weird that pro wrestling to this day has to adhere to any athletic commission regulations. That to me is bizarre, but what do I know? Let's see here. Parsath says having the FTR versus Jet Speed match start in the pre-show and bleed into the main show is a cool idea, but it would have been more effective later in the match when people were hooked. I have seen some asinine takes about this match kicking off the pay-per-view. Just mind-boggling. I got to do a whole video on how stupid Twitter is. Because there's a take out there that's like, why aren't they starting this? This doesn't make any sense. And it's like, shut the fuck, God. Some people, man, I swear to God. You got the whole pre-show, which is available for everybody to watch free gratis, right? And then it leads into the pay-per-view. And so you turn on the pay-per-view, it's like, oh, fuck, there's a match happening right now. So if you weren't watching the pre-show, okay, you can watch the rest of this match. It's there, and then you get the finish of it. Chaos begins the pay-per-view. That's a creative decision, and it's an interesting one, and I actually love it. I understand your point, though, Parsath here, that, it maybe would have been more effective later on, but I thought what they did was pretty cool. Let's see here. Bucket Dipper says, Samoa Joe and Hanger's feud being a little shallow makes sense now, since it's no longer a one-match feud. My problem with that is Joe's whole thesis now, as we saw him say after the big heel turn from the ops, is you're not worthy. You just got your ass kicked, Joe. But maybe the idea is, sure, you can beat one guy, but are you man enough to beat a bunch? But he did that already with the Death Riders. So I don't know what Joe's thesis is going to be here. I think they just wanted the ops to be bad guys, and maybe they wanted to extend out the feud a little bit longer. Maybe Wardlow was supposed to get some match with Hangman. I think that's been reported out there or rumored. Maybe that threw off some stuff. Kota Ibushi's injury, who knows how that might have affected things. I don't know. Maybe there was a domino effect, maybe not. Maybe you got Samoa Joe, and you're thinking, yeah, do a couple matches with the Hangman. I think Hangman works best when he's forced to be morally compromised as a character. And so maybe, hopefully, that's where they're going to go with Samoa Joe. That's my hope here. But I don't know. I thought the match was kind of undercooked. Here we go. Patrick Cheeseman says the belt collector gimmick is stupid. And that's across the board, from Mercedes to Kenny to Kurt. And yes, even to Ultimo Dragon. And Kyle Miller says, if you hate Ultimo Monet, then you did what you were supposed to. I have seen this take out there. There are YouTube videos about this. It's all over Twitter as well. How people are like, this is stupid. That doesn't mean anything. It's all pro wrestling. Like, everybody's going to remember. I remember very fondly Kenny's belt collector gimmick. I thought it was cool because you get a bunch of titles. It looks really cool. Mercedes with just a ridiculous, surreal amount of titles. Number one, I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter, because I would like to think that the promotions that are involved with Mercedes having these titles, these promotions are benefiting from the exposure from whatever social media gets out there of where and when Mercedes gets these titles. So you'd like to think that these promotions know what they're doing, or at least are willing to take the risk and chance that, hey, my title's going to be on television. It's going to be part of this story that people are going to remember for a very long time when Mercedes was doing the belt collector gimmick. It's a hook. It's a gimmick. It's a thing that you grab onto. And you can be like, remember that time, remember that moment when she had all those titles. And then you get to see it all come crumbling down, which it inevitably will. How they're going to do it, I don't know. So it's just a gimmick. It's just a story. If the promotions are helped out, if AEW is establishing this dominant character, making Chris Statlander's inevitable win over Mercedes matter even more, because Mercedes is as dominant as she is. I like it. Aesthetically, I think it looks cool. You know me, I love the belts. I love all these belts. I think they look cool. They look neat. So yeah, I'm fine with it because it's a once in a lifetime moment. They're not going to replicate this with anybody else, and we get to live through it and see how they do it. Hopefully they're able to have it crumble down in a really interesting way. Whether or not they will, I don't know. Let's see. What's this next one here? Sting looks like the Krampus. I don't really see it, to be honest with you. Boney says more old wrestlers need to just go white. Sting looked cooler than ever. Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with this. That being said, if they're like prematurely gray, I'm not really huge into that. Like when Keith Lee came back and he looked like 20 years older because his hair was just, he let it go out, you know. And I'm like, damn, dude, you look like you've been through it right now. And I'm not calling that guy out. Kind of felt the same way about Kevin Nash in TNA. When he was like, he had this silver mane. It's like, I don't know, maybe dye it, you know. But what do I know? I know, gray, it looks distinguished. I don't have any gray yet. My partner does, but not me. Victimizer says, if you're going to telegraph your next world champion, there's no better way than to have him humiliate arguably the best champion your company has had. And then DJ says, this is so unbelievably vague. I think he's talking about Darby becoming the next world champion and on the way humiliating Mox. I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't know when or if Darby's going to be champion. He seems to have indicated that he has no interest in being champion. Twisted Cookie says Jungle Jack Perry should ditch the jeans and go back to his old gear. No. You don't go backwards. You go forwards. I like that he's got kind of like an Outback look. Craven the Hunter look. I like that. But that's definitely a hot take right there. Oh, wow. Jack says AEW claims to be family friendly, but features waterboarding again. Not actually waterboarding. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. This is just a drowning. Good old fashioned drowning. Yeah, I'm making the drowning motion with my hand right here. I have no experience personally drowning anybody, but you know, things change. New Metal Fan says the only thing good about AEW is Jon Moxley and the deathmatch stuff. Apart from that, AEW sucks. AEW should think about becoming a deathmatch promotion, that I might be a fan. I love you, New Metal Fan. Number one, I love that you're a New Metal Fan 1996. I'm assuming that's when you were born. And if that's true, then New Metal, given that it sort of had its roots in the early 2000s, means you've been a New Metal fan basically since its inception. And I can appreciate that. In any event, I don't think AEW is going to become a deathmatch promotion, but they do give you enough deathmatch stuff to, you know, enjoy what they have to offer. There are entire promotions out there that do feature nothing but deathmatch wrestling, I think. I mean, I know CZW had like normal wrestling for a spell. GCW has a lot of deathmatch wrestling. XPW, they go pretty far sometimes. So those do exist out there for you, new metal fan 1996. Anyways, I appreciate your hot take. I appreciate all your hot takes. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Hot Takes Show. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.